Okay, in this video what I'm going to show you is how VW or VAG made changes to their own files rather than how you should make changes or what changes you should make. I'm going to have a look at what they did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with this original Passat PD TDI 130 EDC15, and I'm going to open another project which is a Seat Leon, and the reason I'm opening the Seat Leon is it's exactly the same engine, more or less. I mean, it's very similar engine, and it is sold as having 150 brake horsepower. So here I've got an engine with 150 brake horsepower, and here I've got the same engine with 130 brake horsepower. Right, what I'm going to do is just get these two to line up a little bit better. So I'm going to add a couple of columns to that one. Right, where are we on here? We are, oh look, we're at the SOI limiter. Well, we don't want that, so let's go and look at the EGR. So there we go. So there's the two EGRs, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the two. Now, WinOLS has a neat little trick for doing this, and I might have mentioned it before, I can't recall, but if I go up here and I say connect windows, this will pop up and it will say, how do I want to connect the windows? Do I want to connect this one to that one, or that one to this one, or whatever? For me, it doesn't matter, because I can read. In other words, I've only got two maps, and it doesn't matter which one's connected to which, because I will see two maps in front of me and they will be connected. So I always ignore all of this and just click OK. Now what it's done is it's jumped to this side-by-side view. It usually does that. If I'd had it open in 2D view, it would have probably kept one at the top and one at the bottom. In other words, the developers of WinOLS have decided that this is best viewed side by side like that, because they can get more on the screen, and in 2D view it's best to split it across like that, because they can get more on the screen. So it makes perfect sense. Now, okay, so what we've got then is we've got the Seat Leon original map here, and we've got the Passat original over here, and this one is 130 brake horsepower and this one is 150. And what it's done is it's done what we would have done ourselves had we made changes. In other words, it's highlighted differences. So it's telling me that some values are different to other values. Now, whether they're higher or lower different values depends on where you stand, as it were. Because if you're looking at this one and then looking at that one, then you'll have to decide, have they gone up or have they gone down. But WinOLS has made that decision for you in this case, and so it's decided whether something is an increase or a decrease. Now, I'm not going to get too hot under the collar about that at the moment. Here we've got these being flagged as decreases compared to those, haven't we? Because look, we've got 3.4 compared to 3.5, so it's telling us at the moment that these values are lower than those values. So that's what it's telling us. Now, okay, let's have a look at why. Now, why are these values lower than those values? What is the point of that happening with these maps? Well, if these values are lower, the designers must have decided that that would make some sort of difference to what was going on in the engine. Now, in many respects, are they lower in a big way? You know, is there a huge difference? Now, I suspect that these values and these values are effectively the same values. I know they're different, obviously, because we can see they're different, but I suspect that they are effectively the same values, and I suspect that it's the only real difference is tied in with a very slight difference in fueling. Because if this value was dropped a fraction, it means that the actual EGR value for the flow rate has increased very slightly, because remember that although this is called the EGR map by most people, it's really the mass airflow map. So if the mass airflow has dropped slightly, then it means that the EGR value here has increased very slightly, and it is very slightly. So I suspect the difference between the two is something to do with fueling, but something that we don't know. And I have a sneaky suspicion that the reason is not just simply because of fueling, as in, oh well, obviously this one's got more fuel than that one has because it's got more power. I suspect that it's more likely tied in with the fact that the injectors used on the two engines are very, very slightly different, even though people often say that they're the same. I think they are marginally different in flow rates, and the end result of that is that the air requirement, or the EGR flow allowed, is slightly different. Now, without spending hours and hours measuring all of these values and playing around on a rolling road, it would be quite difficult to pin down that exactly, but I do suspect that that is what is going on here. And of course, the easy way to find out with a greater degree of precision would be, of course, to get hold of two injectors, one from each engine, and actually do some measurements of flow rates and see if you could find out just how similar or how different they are actually to each other. Now, at this moment in time, I'm not going to worry, because I really don't think that I can prove anything by looking at these two EGR values, because I think that, again, as I said, they are more or less the same. So as far as I'm concerned, the EGR map on a PD 130 and a 150, they're probably not worth fiddling with. If I was to try to do any kind of remapping work, it would probably be simpler to just leave them as they are. So in other words, this one would be good enough. I wouldn't need to put these values in this map. If I wanted to put these values in this map, I could copy these and paste them over here. I would have to check the axes are the same. Now this is where this is a good guide, because watch out for things you don't want to copy. If I was going to copy the axes, it looks like I can copy this great big chunk for the axes over to here, but what I can't copy is that bit, because that is a little pointer that is being used to identify this whole map, and it's different on that one. So what I can't do is copy the entire axis data to there. I can copy all of it like that, and then paste it over here. I can't do that while I'm in this view. So I can't do it anyway. I can't show you my doing that at the moment while I'm in this view, because you can see it won't know what I'm doing because it's highlighting both at the same time. But I'm just trying to make the point that I don't want to copy that, because, and let me just get rid of that. If I don't pay attention to what I'm doing and I don't spot that that's red, and I gaily copy all of that over to here, I may well have an engine that won't run, because it's possible that when the ECU runs this file, won't be able to find this map because one of these pointers is incorrect. So, as I've said several times throughout these videos, be careful what you change. Sometimes you can make daft changes and the engine simply doesn't notice because the ECU has just ignored whatever change you've made because it wasn't relevant to the way the ECU is running, so a mistake doesn't show. But it's better not to make mistakes in the first place. Right, now, if we didn't have this view open, so in other words, if I go back and it says, do you want to reset the windows, and I say yes, notice it hasn't put them back where they were originally with one at the top and one at the bottom. It's left them side by side, which is fine. Let's just see if I can get a little bit more of that one to show and a little bit more of that one to show. The reason why WinOLS puts them this way is I don't understand, because very often you can't see enough of the file that you're looking at width-wise when they're this way around. So I've never quite understood why the developers think that side by side like this is the best way to go, because I like to see the whole map that I'm looking at, and I like to see it in the shape that the map will be. Obviously I will be able to see this fine if I make less columns, but then it won't be the shape of the map. So it's a difficult one. I don't understand that one sometimes, but never mind, there we go. I just want to point out that now we're looking at it like this, of course the differences no longer show up, and so if you want to make changes in some formats, you need to just remember to yourself, okay, if I've got these two open, I now can, having seen what I can copy all this piece. So I can literally go copy, and if I want to, I can put it in there and I can click paste, and then all of this will be in there. I'm not going to do that at the moment. So I'll come back over here and just clear that. So I'm not going to do that at the moment. But what I mustn't do, as I've just been saying, is I mustn't copy that bit into there, because that's going to ruin everything. So I could copy chunks of the layout 150 into the 130 map if I wanted to. But as I say, I'm not convinced that the EGR values would actually be helpful. Right, I won't go any further than that for now. We may have to come back to this, or we may not. So I'll stop there on that one.